You guys was good. So we're back with another video. I'm here with Coach Kirkar.
Yeah.
So we're gonna drop some knowledge about just the basics of building muscle. Nothing too much in detail, but just the overall big picture stuff, right? So getting right into it. First thing is your training. So the first thing in training we're talking about is exercise selection. So what do you mean by that?
So with exercise selection, you want to be specific with what you choose and why you choose it. So in this instance, we're trying to build muscle.
Yeah.
We want to choose exercises that give you the best bang for your buck.
Yeah.
Right? So you compare a leg extension to a squat, what's going to give you best bang for your buck?
Yeah.
The squat.
Squat. Yeah.
Right? So that's very simple.
Because it works out more muscles.
It works out more muscles. It's a compound movement. So you want to choose those compound movements, those bigger movements that you can progress on for a long time safely.
Yeah. And moving on from that, specifically, I guess you're talking about specificity, but moving on from that is execution, right?
Yeah.
So perform the exercise you select properly.
Yeah.
Right?
So
just execute properly.
You want to take the exercise you selected, which would be in this case the squat, and take the time to learn how to do it properly.
Yeah.
Right. So the biomechanics of it, and going over your knees not caving in and your hips being mobile and all that kind of stuff. So take the time in order to learn how to do it properly, so you can do it safely for a long period of time, which results in growth.
Yeah, that's the only way you're gonna make gains, right? Consistency. Moving on from that is progressive overload. What do you mean by that?
So progressive overload consists of three main variables: frequency, intensity, and volume. Right. So frequency is the amount of times you do that lift per week or per month or whatever. Intensity is just how heavy. Okay. And then volume is how much. Right. We'll go over that all in depth when we make a video on training specifically.
Oh yeah, I forgot to mention that at the start. So we're gonna be making videos on each thing here about building muscle. Okay, moving on from training, the second biggest thing we think is nutrition. So the first thing in nutrition just like in training, exercise selection, food selection, right? Like, what kind of foods are you eating, right? Like, it's gonna matter a lot in building muscle.
So you want to choose foods that are whole foods, clean foods, foods that are micronutrient dense and easy to digest. Right? So you want to eat stuff like white rice, potatoes instead of pizzas and fries.
We'll go in more detail again in the nutrition video. Moving on from that is experience level, right? So what do we mean by what does that mean, experience level?
Well, if you're a beginner, right, you've never weight trained, you've never had the opportunity to eat properly. When you start, you probably just want to focus on the food selection, right? Eating the right foods and nothing more than that. Whereas where you're more of an advanced guy, maybe you're getting ready for a competition, you're going to take into account every little detail of your nutrition, right? And so that's the difference between like a beginner and advanced is how much you actually look into your nutrition.
So that's where I think that ties right into the third point, right? Calories, how much are you going to really look into the calories? And that depends on your experience level, right? So what are some things people do with calories? Like, I know we'll go in detail, but
so with your calories, obviously they're made up of your protein, carbs, fats, and then you have your micronutrients as well. You want to try to choose foods that are relatively higher in protein, moderate carbs, moderate fats, all obviously dependent on your body, your goals, all that kind of stuff. And then also have the micronutrients. If you're not getting them from food, you can supplement with greens and stuff like that. But that also depends on your experience level and where you're at with
everything is integrated, right? So okay, moving on from nutrition. Third point that a lot of us neglect is the recovery part, right? So the first thing is fatigue management. And so what are some things that you can do to manage your fatigue?
Number one, sleep. Right, sleep. And then something that ties into your training is like some deloads and mobility, right? Mobility you'd either do before or after your training sessions. I hope you guys do it. Right? I hope you guys are sleeping properly. But deloads are severely underlooked. We can talk about more in depth when you go over this.
Okay, sounds good. After that is stress management, right? So what do we really mean by stress management? Like what kind of stress? Life stress or training stress?
Well, you have two different types of stress.
Yeah.
You have your training stress and your life stress. We know that training is a stress on the body that we put on ourselves purposely in order to produce growth.
100%.
But there are also other stresses in life you have outside of the gym. Financial stress, you know, relationship, work, things like that.
100%.
So in order to mitigate the stress from your training, you want to try to reduce everything outside of that.
Yeah,
right?
and we'll give you guys like some practical things we can actually do to mitigate those in the detailed video that's coming up for recovery, right? There's gonna be some things like, you know, meditation, breathing, walking, just getting your mind off the stresses of life. Life happens. So moving on from that, mindset, right? This could easily be like the number one thing for the whole thing, but number one thing in mindset being goal in sight. So what do we really mean by having a goal in sight?
Right, so knowing why you started and why you want to do this is very, very important. For example, most of my clients come to me to get ready for a wedding, whether it's their wedding, their brother's wedding, their sister's wedding, someone's wedding. They have a goal, they have a date, right, and they're working towards that. Right, so every time you fall off track, you know, you have to sit down. Why did I start? Why am I doing this? Right, and that'll kind of give you the extra motivation to push yourself through that shitty day. Not every day is going to be a good day.
100%.
Right, which brings us to the next point.
Patience and consistency, right? So if you're not, if you don't keep reminding yourself of your why or your goal, right? It's gonna be really tough to be patient and consistent because you're like, why am I doing this, right? And like right away, like that kind of ties in again to your execution and learning, I feel, because like if you don't really like or if you don't have a good reason of why, you really wouldn't want to do anything about it or learn about it, right? So what do we really mean by having execution before learning though?
Right, so you can try to learn everything possible before you start, but there's an infinite amount of knowledge out there. So for example, I've been training for 10 years. If I told myself 10 years ago, I'm going to start when I know everything, I still wouldn't have started because there's so much I still need to learn,
100%.
right? So it's better to start something and learn along the way, because as you start, you gain results, and through the results, you gain motivation to continue doing it.
That's it.
Right? That's where you build that discipline, which ties into the consistency and the patience.
So the doubt disappears through work.
Exactly.
Right? So we're gonna go in detail about every single thing here because there's a lot to cover. But we wanted to give you guys like a big picture. So please look out for like the segments for each topic here: training, nutrition, recovery, mindset, to ultimately build muscle consistently over time, right? See you guys in the part 1, which is gonna be training. Okay? So up to you go.
Peace.
Bye bye.